Hi everyone, welcome to Friday Live. This is all about Australian skilled migration. We started these sessions every Friday to talk about Australian skilled migration, what visa subclasses available and who can be eligible. We have had an overwhelming response to our session, so first of all I want to say thank you to everyone's watching, and because of our latest trends and responses coming from TikTok, so we are today live on TikTok as well. So welcome to everyone to this live sessions. If you have any questions, so before I start, I just want to quickly mention that today's sessions are all about Australian skilled migration. So subclass 189, 190, 491, and today we are going to talk about South Australia. So if you can, guys, please try to keep your comments related to skilled migration. If they're not related to skilled migration, I might not have time to answer your question. It's about general skilled migration or other Australian visas. Please email us admin@cirrus.com.au, or you can call us 1300 074 787. But if we do have enough time, then I will answer your questions. So first week I introduced you to all the visa subclasses available, that is 189, 190 and 491. This is only through skilled migration. It's all about our sessions on Friday anyway. And then the next week we talk about EOIs and how to lodge your expression of interest and the point system. And then we talked about skills assessments, and then we talked about Queensland, and then we talked about Western Australia, and today is about South Australia. Again, what a great state to be, South Australia. I've been there personally myself few times. It is such a homey state from what I realized, and they are very welcoming. The state processing authorities extremely friendly and welcoming. They reply to your emails really quickly, and they have a great number of occupations available, and it's one of the states that has the most organized skilled migration pathway. If I say that, I don't think I'll be wrong. They're organized occupation wise, there are points, and there are work experiences organized occupation wise. That's the only state I have seen that so far, which I think is a great system. Their website, South Australian Skilled Migration, if you want to go and visit that, that's a great source of information as well. Right, let's get started. So South Australia has 6 different categories of nominating or streams of subclass 190 and 491. So they are mainly categorized into 6 different pathways. So each different pathway has its own eligibility requirements, if I put it that way. So it's a lot of information today. I will try to be as fast as I can so I can get all the information across to you before I go into answer the questions. I will be looking at my laptop today because all these 6 streams, it's very difficult to know all the requirements by heart. So we sometimes go by the information that we have shortlisted. So yeah, you can also see in the whiteboard the 6 pathways. First one, South Australian graduate. If you're a graduate in South Australia, you could get prioritized over other applicants. So that's another great benefit to be studying in South Australia. And the second one, working in South Australia. Third one, outer regional South Australia, which means not the cities. Bit further from the cities, there are other benefits for working in regional South Australia. Then the long-term resident. So there is a pathway for people who's been living in South Australia for 5 years or more. They have a separate pathway. And then highly skilled and talent. And the last one is the offshore. And also you may be eligible under more than one category of this system. So it's better to know all the available pathways and to see which one would get you the most benefit if you apply under. I hope that makes sense. So I will go through each and every pathway and explain to you what is the requirement and how to get this done if you are interested in South Australia. The first pathway is for South Australian graduates. I don't know if you remember, if you've seen my last week's session. So Western Australia also has a Western Australian graduates pathway, but they expect you to be studied in Western Australia for the full duration. So this is a bit different in South Australia. In South Australia, if you're how to become a South Australian graduate? They consider you a South Australian graduate if you completed at least half of your course in South Australia. If you're enrolled in a CRI-course registered course for at least 46 weeks, and if you studied and lived in South Australia, then you're considered a South Australian graduate. And also you need to have your nominated occupation in the skill list. So South Australia has their own skill list. So you have to go and see if your nominated occupation is in that list. And then you need to be currently living and working in South Australia. You have to be under 45 years of age at the time the nomination is approved. Then again, I keep telling my clients that age is a big factor. You have to make sure that you're 45 at the time of invitation granted, not at the time of applying. So please take into consideration your age, if your age gap is, if you fall under which age gap, and when you're turning into your next age. And you need to have a valid and positive skill assessment in your nominated occupation. So if you're an accountant, you need to have a skill assessment as an accountant. And you need to have at least competent English, which is 6 in each band in IELTS and 50 overall, 50 in each band in PTE. So that is the general requirement, but if you have higher than that, obviously you can get higher points. And because for competent English you don't get any points, the next one up is proficient English, you get 10, and the next one up is superior, where you get 20 points. So you need to have at least competent English unless your occupation requires registration. The best example is if, for example, let's say you're a registered nurse. So to get your registration, you need 7 in each band, IELTS academic. So if that is your occupation, then obviously you need to have 7 in each band. Other than that, the general requirement is competent English, which is 6 in each band, general IELTS or PTE 50. And you need to have 65 points in the Home Affairs points table. This is including the state points. So if you're looking for subclass 190, then you need to have at least 60 on your own, because you get 5 points from the state. And if you're looking at subclass 491, then you need to have 50 points, because the state will give you 15 points. And as I said, a minimum of 50% of your qualification had to be completed in South Australia. And again, you must have resided in South Australia for at least 1 year. And then you need to be currently working in the job that is related to your nominated occupation. The best thing about South Australia also is that your nominated occupation, so occupations in Australia go with an ANSCO code. So it only has to be in that ANSCO, first 2 digits has to be matched, which means only in that group. So there are so many occupations that you can choose from. If you're an accountant, then you could be other occupations. As long as the first 2 digits match, then that is considered relevant employment. This is a great benefit for all the applicants. And you need to have completed your work experience post qualification. And then you need to meet the minimum experience that is listed for your occupation, which means if your occupation, depending on the occupation, South Australia, as I explained, have different work experience requirements. So you need to make sure that you have the minimum work experience required for your occupation. And if you're looking for 491, then your work experience requirement is part-time, which is 20 hours a week. But if you're looking for 190, then your work experience requirement is 30 hours a week, which is pretty much full-time. So that is the South Australian graduate stream. Under that stream, there is another subcategory that is called high-performing graduates. So to be eligible to become a high-performing graduate, you need to again have a occupation in the list, and you need to have completed your qualification in a higher education provider in South Australia in the last 2 years, and you need to have a qualification or your skill assessment in your same nominated occupation. You need to be currently living in South Australia or have continuously done so after the completion of your course. And you need to have proficient English, which is higher than competent English, because now we are talking about the high performing graduate stream. And you need to have the qualification that is given to you as a part of your studies in South Australia. So if you've studied masters, you need to have completed your masters. If you studied PhD, then again you need to have submitted your thesis and completed your PhD. And then if you've done honors, then it has to be as a result of at least 92 weeks CRICOS registered course that is awarded in South Australia. And again, if it's a bachelor's degree, it has to be at least 92 weeks, which is 2 years. And you need to have started employment. So if it's master's, PhD or research, you don't need employment. But if it's bachelor's, you need to have started employment to be eligible to apply for EOI under the high performing graduates. I know I was a bit fast, but I'm trying to get through the content because South Australia is quite an intense state. There's so much to talk about. So that is all for the first one, SA graduates. The second one is working in South Australia. So this stream is for you if you're currently working in South Australia. To be eligible, again, you need to have an occupation. You need to currently live and work in South Australia, under 45 years of age, have a positive skill assessment in your nominated occupation, competent English, same like the other one, 65 points in Department of Home Affairs points table, currently working a job that is related to your occupation. So under South, I think the best thing to remember in this is to take out is your occupation again has to be related to your nominated occupation in your skill assessment. And then again, you have undertaken work experience post qualification, which means after completing your course. And the minimum experience. So what experience do I need? Again, South Australia is a great state. Each occupation, they have different work experience requirement that is very clearly listed in their website. So you need to make sure that you fulfill that requirement. And you need to be working at least 20 hours a week or 40 hours a fortnight, which means part-time work. So that's the only requirement if you want to apply under the South Australian working category. The next one we have is outer regional. Very interesting pathway, which not many states have a specific one for working in extremely regional areas of that state. So you need to again have your nominated occupation in the list, and you need to be currently living and working in outer regional. You need to be under 45 years. You need to have a skill assessment in your nominated occupation, competent English, 65 points, just like the other one. And for subclass 491, you must meet the work experience requirement. So you have to be working for at least past 6 months in any job. Okay, so this is the most critical word of this stream. So if you're working in outer regional, if you're looking for 491, you could be working in any occupation. It doesn't have to be related to your nominated occupation. So you could be a accountant working as a grape grower in South Australia, and you can be invited for 491. So this is what you need to take out of this stream. And you need to be working for at least 30 hours per week or 40 hours a fortnight. And also holiday makers. So there are people who comes to Australia under working holiday visas. Those people can also be eligible for this subclass, not just students. And if you're looking for subclass 190 under this stream, then again you need to be working in the past 6 months in any job, doesn't have to be related, 30 hours a week or 40 hours a fortnight, and then must be working in a highly skilled position, level 1 or 2, and receiving a salary of at least 65,000. So that's the only difference between 491 and 190 in the outer regional. So if you're looking for 190, you need to be earning at least $65,000 or more in a level 1 or 2 qualification. And also your employer must be in outer regional and have had a business for at least 12 months. So that is the requirement for your employer who you're currently working. So that is outer regional. It's a really good program, again, that is promoted in South Australia, and many applicants go through this pathway if you're going there working in farms that are really that are far from the city. The next one we have is the long-term resident. So most of the requirements are same as the other streams that I explained. Under 45, currently living and working in SA, have an occupation, skill assessment in your nominated occupation. Under 45, compete in English, again 6 in each band, they don't expect you anything higher. And you need to be working in South Australia in any skill level 1, 2, 3 or 4, carer or aid occupation, and you need to be working for at least 12 months in South Australia if you're looking for subclass 491. So the work experience in the past 12 months, you need to have worked at least 20 hours a week if you're looking for 491, 30 hours a week if you're looking for 190. This is under the long-term resident. So this is only available to people who's been in South Australia for at least 5 years. This is the long-term residence pathway. And again, your work experience requirement is different for each occupation, that is also listed. So the next pathway, or the last pathway that is available for South Australia, is actually the second last, is highly skilled and talent. This is again a very interesting pathway that's available to graduates not only living in South Australia but graduates from all around Australia. And there are many graduates who applies under this stream who are not living in South Australia. So with this one, how that is different is, first you need to register your interest, or we call it ROI. So you need to lodge your ROI with the Skilled and Business Migration portal that is available in South Australia Skilled Migration website. First you need to put your points and say, okay, this is what I am and I'm interested in applying through to South Australia under the highly skilled and talent. After you register your interest, then they will go through it and they will issue you an invitation if your ROI is successful. So the eligibility criteria for this stream, you need to live and work in South Australia, interstate or overseas. So you can be anywhere, and you need to be again under 45 at the time of nomination approval. You need to have a valid positive skill assessment for your nominated occupation, and at least proficient English. Again, now South Australia is asking for high English. So all the other streams, they want competent English other than the highly skilled graduate stream and the highly skilled and talent stream. And again, you need to have 65 points only from the state points table, but you need to be earning a high base salary threshold, which is at least $80,000 per annum, and working full time, which is at least 30 hours a week or 40 hours a fortnight. But there are some specific requirements for onshore applicants. So let's just go through that. Onshore applicants must show that they have extensive work experience working in highly skilled jobs. So executive or senior level people that they are looking for. And also they need to demonstrate at least one of the following things that I'm about to tell you. You have already commenced employment in South Australia, or you have an employment contract or a position that you're planning to relocate to South Australia, which you can also apply if you're working for a company interstate and they are expecting to relocate you to South Australia. Or you need to demonstrate specialized experience or niche skills that are highly desired in one of the South Australia's critical lists. So you either need to have critical skills, job contract, or already working in South Australia for people who are already in Australia. And your employer also has to meet some minimum thresholds. They need to have existed for at least 12 months. They need to have at least 4 million annual turnover. But if your employer is a startup, that could be exempted from this 4 million. And also if the business is operating in outer regional, then this 4 million can be accepted. And the business has to business cannot have any adverse information. And if you're an offshore applicant, which is also available to highly skilled and talent stream, again you need to demonstrate extensive work experience working in senior or executive roles and highly skilled jobs, and it has to be internationally recognized companies or multinational companies that has a presence in South Australia, or you have specialized experience in the highly critical sectors that's available in South Australia. So this is again a really interesting stream that's available for highly skilled and talented people. There are many people in Australia on temporary visas working high paid jobs in other states. This could be available to you. Last but not least, offshore. So South Australia is again open to offshore applicants. First you have to lodge your EOI, and again in the skill select and mention all your points to see if you meet the minimum points, and English language. They look at all that and then they select you. So for offshore applicants, again South Australian website has this requirements list for each occupation. You need to make sure that your occupation is listed, and you need to make sure you meet the minimum points and the age, proficient English or competent English based on your occupation. For offshore applicants, what you need to take out of this stream is South Australia will nominate you based on the years and the field of skilled employment. So if an accountant applies with 1 year work experience compared to someone with 8 years work experience, obviously the 8 years work experience might get a quicker invitation. And also they look at your English ability. So the same amount of points, but someone has higher English, superior English compared to a competent English, the superior English person will have a better chance. And the last thing is the EOI points. So same occupation, there could be 2 people applying, one with 65 points, the other one with 95 points. Obviously the person with 95 points will have a better chance. So I think I did well. So this is all to do with South Australia. They have 6 pathways. Under one pathway, which is this SA graduates, they have 2 different streams, and I've gone through all the critical requirements for South Australia. Whether you're in South Australia, in a different state or offshore, you can be eligible under South Australian nominations. Let's look at some questions. Before we go there is a question that was posted for subclass 482. Someone's asking, the occupation is on the medium to long term list, why did they get the visa for 2 years? So this is actually nothing to do with skill migration, it's to do with work visa, subclass 482. So why that person only got the visa for 2 years is because the employer only nominated them for 2 years. Even though your occupation is available on the medium to long term list, if the employer decide to nominate you only for 1 year or 2 years, they can do that. And you will only get the visa for the years that the employer nominate you for. Just because it's available for up to 4 years doesn't mean that your employer has to nominate you for 4 years. They can do it for shorter, which means you will get a shorter visa. There are reasons why employers do that. I probably wouldn't go into too much details, but there are reasons why employers don't want to nominate you for 4 years, because they have other plans or you have other ways of getting PR, so you don't need a 4-year visa, and employer doesn't have to pay for 4 years. Alright, let me ask some questions. I'm an assistant electrical engineer from Sri Lanka with top degree from UK. Can I apply for 491 visa without work experience? Because I am working since March 2023. Electrical engineer, I believe so, because engineers do not need to have work experience to get skill assessment. So this work experience requirement actually starts with the skill assessment. Most of the occupations you need to have work experience to get a skill assessment, but engineers don't necessarily need work experience. So yes, you can apply for subclass 189, which doesn't have a work experience requirement. You can apply, yes. Can you go back to the, yeah. So I've got Vishal. Oh yeah, great. So I hope my question is clear. Okay. So I've got a lot of questions and comments in TikTok, which I will answer. I've got Bhutan asking any PR for Master of Management. It's a tricky one, Master of Management. So PR, how it works is we need to find an occupation. So you could have a Master of Business Management, then you could be working as a hotel motel manager. So that would be your occupation, and we use that qualification to prove that you are qualified to be studying, working as a hotel motel manager. So yes, it is possible, but maybe not just with your education. You will need to also have work experience in a nominated occupation, whichever the occupation that we are going to select. I've got Anabia asking if someone has no proper schooling due to language barrier of Germany, then it is possible to study. Yeah, it's obviously possible to study in Australia, but you will be starting with your English. So you first come and study English, and then you move on to other studies. I don't understand what your question, Tara. So if you could please retype the question, I'll be able to help you. A lot of people are saying I'm interested in migrating to Australia. That is great. So get in touch with us and tell us what is your background. So how Australian migration work is, first we need to look at your background. We need to see your studies, your work experience, and we also need to talk to you to find out what is your ultimate goal. Do you want to settle in Australia? Do you want to work? Do you want to study? Then based on that, we can help you find a pathway if you have an option to be studying, working, or living in Australia. And I've got someone asking any updates for Queensland. So the only update for Queensland is Queensland government is currently open. They're not closed for invitations, but I don't think we can be expecting any invitations for this financial year. Even if we can, they'll be quite less because of the quota. But I think next financial year, which is starting in July, obviously yes, Queensland government will be issuing many invitations. I've got someone, Yudaka, asking, is it possible to migrate with tourist visa and convert it? We don't really recommend it. So tourist visa is given for the purpose of visit. Some people even advertise, they come to Australia with a tourist visa and converted it to student visa. People do that, but it's not highly recommended because tourist is for the purpose of tourism. You come to Australia, you visit, and then you go back. But if you're really looking to a different visa, then you find the proper pathway and you apply for that visa. And a lot of people are commenting that it is their first time and they are interested in coming to either work or live in Australia. This is great. Australia has next financial year there's going to be 137,100 invitations or visas issued for people who are in skill sector, who holds highly needed jobs in Australia. So this is great news. If you're one of them, don't wait, get your skills sorted and apply. I've got Vishal again asking, top-up degree can be assessed as bachelor degree. Is it okay for skill assessment? Vishal, please send me an email and send me your qualification. If top-up degree is at least 3 years and the end qualification is a bachelor's degree, then it should be okay. We should be able to use that for skill assessment. Most likely you will be going under either competency demonstration reports or the CDR pathway, but we can have a look at your qualification and give you further advice. So again, my time has run out. It's officially 30 minutes now. I hope you guys understood a bit about South Australia skilled migration. So if you're interested in Australian skilled migration or a different visa, please get in touch with us. We are registered migration agents, head office in Brisbane, and there are other offices in Nepal, Sri Lanka, and some other countries as well. There are more questions coming, but guys, I'm really sorry I've run out of the time. So please email us admin@cirrus.com.au. Thank you so much for watching the videos. I will see you next week. Next week we are going to be talking about New South Wales. So be ready. Another very interesting state. A lot of options available. I will be talking all about it, trying to decode them for you. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Have a great weekend.